Did you know that humans are hardwired to listen to stories? In fact, research shows that people are 22 times more likely to remember a story than a simple fact. Think about that. A story sticks in your mind far longer than a statistic or dry information. That's why storytelling is one of the most powerful tools you can use to grab attention, inspire action, and connect with people on a deep level. But here's the kicker: not everyone knows how to tell a great story. In fact, only 10% of people are naturally skilled storytellers. The rest of us can learn these powerful techniques. And that's exactly what this video is all about. Throughout this guide, you'll discover the secrets behind some of the best storytellers in the world. How do they keep us hanging on every word? How do they make their stories unforgettable? You'll learn techniques that can transform your speaking style, from mastering the perfect pause to creating endings that leave a lasting impact. These aren't just tips, these are game-changing strategies used by some of the most captivating speakers of our time. Get ready to uncover the 6 secrets of great storytellers. By the end, you'll have the tools to tell stories that not only capture attention but also make people remember you long after you speak. Stick with me, this will change the way you think about storytelling. Chapter 1: The Power of the Pause. The pause is often overlooked, but it's one of the most powerful tools in the storyteller's arsenal. It's more than just silence, it's the space where emotion builds, where anticipation grows. Research shows that speakers who use pauses effectively can improve audience retention by as much as 20%. Pauses help people absorb what's been said, giving them time to reflect. Without this, we risk overwhelming our listeners with too much information at once. Great speakers know how to use this silence to their advantage. For example, when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone, he paused right before he revealed the groundbreaking product. That one moment of silence built a sense of anticipation that made the announcement even more memorable. The key to using pauses well is timing. The best storytellers pause not just at the end of a sentence but within the sentence itself. A brief pause before a punchline or critical point allows your audience to process, making the story more impactful. You don't need to overdo it, just a couple of well-timed pauses can transform a good story into a great one. Here's a fun fact: studies show that people actually find speakers who pause more often to be more confident. When you pause, you project an image of being in control, as if you were saying, "I'm confident enough to let this moment breathe." It gives your words more weight and makes your delivery feel more intentional. Another benefit of pausing is that it helps control your pacing. Rushed speakers can sound like they're nervous or unprepared, but pausing allows you to slow down. Pausing can also help eliminate UMMS and Rs, those filler words that tend to creep in when we're nervous. Ultimately, pausing isn't just about silence. It's about creating space for meaning to unfold. The next time you speak, remember that silence can be as powerful as words. Chapter 2: Embrace the Unpredictable. Great storytelling is like a thrilling rollercoaster ride. It's filled with unexpected twists and turns. If you want to capture your audience's attention, you need to make them feel like they can't predict what's coming next. Research from the University of California found that unpredictable events cause the brain to release dopamine, which makes us more engaged and focused. One way to introduce unpredictability into your stories is by throwing in a surprise moment. This could be a shocking revelation, a twist in the plot, or an unexpected outcome. Think about how movies like The Sixth Sense or The Prestige rely on these twists to keep their audience on edge. You can use the same technique in your storytelling. Take a page out of Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers, where he describes how success often comes from unexpected opportunities rather than following a clear, predictable path. By embracing the unpredictable in your own story, you open the door to innovation and creativity. You can change the direction of your narrative just when the audience thinks they have it figured out. Another method to introduce unpredictability is to challenge your audience's expectations. If they think they know where the story is going, flip the script. A great example of this is J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Readers believed certain characters were untouchable, only to find out later that their fates were completely unexpected. It's not just about shocking your audience for the sake of it, it's about creating a deeper connection by keeping them engaged. When people are uncertain about what will happen next, they pay closer attention. It forces them to stay alert and mentally invested in the story. Even in everyday conversations, embracing unpredictability can work wonders. For example, instead of following a predictable routine in a speech, try breaking your pattern at unexpected moments. Throw in a humor-filled anecdote or a relevant quote that seems out of left field. This keeps the audience intrigued and ensures they never know exactly what to expect. At the end of the day, the unpredictable moments you create will be the ones people remember most. So, embrace the unexpected, and watch your storytelling elevate to new heights. Chapter 3: The 3D Effect. Deepening every story. Storytelling doesn't have to be flat. The best stories are multidimensional. They transport you to different times, places, and emotional states. One key to becoming a great storyteller is adding depth and texture to your stories, making them feel as rich and real as possible. This doesn't just mean describing things in vivid detail, it means adding layers of emotion, perspective, and even conflicting views. Think about a classic like The Great Gatsby. It's not just about Gatsby's parties or his love for Daisy. It's about the underlying themes of the American dream, wealth, and desire. This is what makes the story stick with you long after you've read it. To achieve the 3D effect, start by introducing sensory details into your stories. Don't just tell your audience about an event, let them see it, smell it, feel it. For example, instead of saying, "It was a hot day," say, "The air was thick, humid, and stuck to my skin like wet fabric." This simple shift pulls the audience into the scene. Incorporating different perspectives can also add depth. For example, in storytelling, you might tell the same event from multiple points of view. This allows you to add complexity to the narrative, revealing new insights that a single perspective wouldn't capture. Another aspect of creating depth is through contrasting emotions. A story that balances joy with sorrow, hope with despair, or triumph with failure resonates more with your audience because it mirrors the complexity of real life. According to research from the National Storytelling Network, stories that explore complex emotions are remembered more vividly than those that stick to a single mood. Don't shy away from the darker or more difficult elements of your story. Vulnerability, when shared with authenticity, creates a sense of trust with your audience. This transparency helps listeners connect with your story on a deeper emotional level. Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, argues that vulnerability is the cornerstone of connection. By embracing it in your storytelling, you create a sense of intimacy that pulls people in. Ultimately, the goal is to craft stories that make your audience feel as though they are living in the moment with you. This is how great speakers go beyond merely telling a story, they make it come alive. So, think in layers. Add texture, perspective, and emotion. When you do, your stories will be more unforgettable and meaningful. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful storytelling tips and strategies that can help you improve your speaking skills today. Chapter 4: The Mind Reader's Trick. Great storytellers aren't just telling their own story, they're telling the audience's story too. The best speakers know how to tap into the emotions and thoughts of their listeners. They have a way of predicting what their audience is thinking and guiding them through a narrative that feels personal. Research shows that storytelling has a neurological impact on listeners. According to a study by Paul Zak, a professor at Claremont Graduate University, stories that connect with emotions cause the brain to release oxytocin, which makes people feel more connected and empathetic. One of the most powerful techniques for engaging your audience's inner dialogue is to anticipate their questions. By knowing what your audience is thinking, you can address their curiosities before they even ask. For example, if you're telling a story about a business success, your audience may wonder, how did they get there? By predicting the question and answering it as you go along, you maintain control over the conversation and keep your listeners engaged. Another strategy is to insert moments of doubt or confusion that mirror what your audience may be feeling. In the middle of your story, when you introduce a challenge or unexpected turn, acknowledge that it might feel uncertain. This gives your listeners a moment of relief because they realize you understand their concerns. This connection makes them feel seen and heard, strengthening the bond. Think of how the best mystery writers drop clues throughout a story. These tiny hints draw the audience in, encouraging them to engage their minds. When you plant these little aha moments, your audience feels like they're figuring things out with you. It's a powerful psychological trick that keeps them actively listening, rather than passively watching. Remember, storytelling is a two-way interaction. Your audience is actively processing what you say, connecting it to their own lives. Acknowledging and addressing their thoughts and emotions creates a deeper sense of engagement and trust. When you can predict and speak to your audience's inner thoughts, you make them feel like they're a part of the story, not just outsiders listening in. Chapter 5: The Emotion Compass. The heart of great storytelling is emotion. If you want to captivate your audience, you have to take them on an emotional journey. According to a study from Stanford University, stories that evoke emotions are remembered more clearly and for a longer time than those that don't. Great speakers know how to navigate the emotional landscape of their story, taking listeners through a range of feelings, from joy to fear, and back again. One of the most effective strategies for connecting emotionally with your audience is pacing. Just like in music, where a song's tempo can change to create mood, your storytelling pace can shift to elicit different emotional responses. Slow down to create a sense of suspense or urgency, then speed up to build excitement. This keeps your audience emotionally hooked, never quite sure what's coming next but always eager to feel it. Take the example of the hero's journey. This structure is widely used in storytelling because it's emotional and relatable. In the hero's journey, the protagonist faces a great challenge, experiences setbacks, and eventually triumphs. This journey mimics our own struggles and victories, which is why it resonates so strongly with audiences. By introducing an emotional arc, complete with struggle and eventual victory, you tap into universal feelings that everyone can relate to. But emotions aren't just about highs and lows. Sometimes, the most powerful moments come from a subtle shift in emotion. Think about how a simple, heartfelt sentence can change the entire tone of a story. A slight shift from humor to sadness, or surprise to awe, can transform your narrative and leave a lasting impression on your audience. Another strategy is using emotions strategically. You don't want to bombard your audience with constant highs or lows. Great speakers balance their emotional cadence, carefully building up to key moments, then allowing for moments of reflection or relief. This keeps your audience engaged without overwhelming them. Ultimately, your goal is to make your listeners feel something real. Whether it's laughter, fear, joy, or empathy, emotional connection is the key to unforgettable storytelling. When you master emotional pacing, your stories won't just entertain, they'll move people, leaving a lasting impact long after the words fade away. Chapter 6: The end that echoes. A great story doesn't end when the last word is spoken, it lingers. The best storytellers know how to craft endings that echo in the minds of their audience, long after the curtain falls. In fact, research shows that the way a story ends is critical to how people remember it. According to psychologist Jerome Bruner, we are more likely to remember the last part of a story than any other. So, if you want your story to stick, you need to nail that ending. One way to create a powerful ending is by tying it back to the beginning. This technique, known as circular storytelling, leaves your audience with a sense of closure. It's like when you start with a question and answer it at the end. This creates a sense of symmetry that feels satisfying. Consider how many classic books, like The Great Gatsby or To Kill a Mockingbird, end by reflecting on the themes and ideas introduced in the opening scenes. Another effective strategy is to leave your audience with a thought-provoking question or challenge. A great example of this is how many TED speakers end their talks. Instead of wrapping up with a simple conclusion, they ask their audience to think about how they can apply the ideas presented in their own lives. This open-ended approach invites the audience to reflect, ensuring the story sticks with them long after the talk. Great storytellers also know the power of a call to action. A strong ending often invites people to take action or think differently about the topic. In his book Start With Why, Simon Sinek argues that great leaders end their stories with a clear call to action that inspires people to move forward with purpose. This is something you can apply in your own storytelling, whether it's urging your audience to embrace a new idea or take specific action in their lives. The best endings are those that are unexpected, but in hindsight, make perfect sense. Think about how Pixar films often end with a twist that redefines the entire story. When crafting your own ending, think about how you can challenge your audience's expectations, leaving them with a sense of awe or surprise. Finally, remember that a great ending doesn't have to be a grand spectacle. Sometimes, the most powerful endings are simple and quiet. A final, reflective moment or a heartfelt statement can be more impactful than any flashy conclusion. The key is to leave your audience with something to hold on to, a memory, a thought, or an emotion that lingers after the story is over. By crafting an ending that resonates, you ensure that your story doesn't just fade away. Instead, it becomes something that your audience carries with them, thinking back on it for days, months, or even years. So, as you wrap up your next story, ask yourself, what do I want my audience to remember? Make that your final thought, and your story will echo long after it's finished. Remember to subscribe to get more powerful storytelling tips and strategies that will help you become a better speaker and storyteller today.